Horrific, sad, breaking news. The sheriff has just announced in a news conference that a body has been discovered near Lake Hodges, where 17-year-old Chelsea King was jogging last Thursday afternoon. Authorities say the body is likely Chelsea's. They say she was covered in a shallow grave, covered with debris. Let's listen to the news conference of the San Diego County Sheriff.
Great sadness this afternoon that we discovered shortly after 1 o'clock human remains near the water's edge in a shallow grave within the area in which our search efforts had been concentrated. Although positive identification has not been made, there is strong likelihood that we have found Chelsea.
Here are some highlights of the news conference. Obviously, we don't need to tell you this. Chelsea's family completely destroyed, completely devastated. They were hoping somehow, some way, by some miracle, their precious straight-A student of a daughter who was a volunteer, who was well-liked, who was a long-distance runner, would somehow be found alive. But the body is believed to be that of Chelsea King. The medical examiner is going to take over and analyze it. We should have a positive ID back later this afternoon or early tomorrow. And, of course, the DA now comes into play, and the monster believed to be responsible, according to police, is going to be arraigned tomorrow. We're talking about 30-year-old sex offender John Gardner III. There he is. Today, Chelsea's mother told news stations that the item of clothing that police found, the police say they linked to this man's DNA, was her daughter's underwear. Okay, this guy has a sickening, sickening, sickening criminal past. In 2000, 10 years ago, he was convicted of molesting a 13-year-old girl. The victim's terrifying ordeal was documented in the San Diego DA's sentencing report. Quote, Gardner rubbed his erect self against her private parts. He hit the victim repeatedly in the face, pulled her underwear down. The young woman says she was being suffocated by his hand over her mouth. And she, quote, thought she was going to be raped, end quote. So what kind of punishment did this sicko get? 5 years. 5 years for doing all that. Now, we all know that if prosecutors had thrown the book at him and given him the max, he would have been behind bars when beautiful Chelsea King had decided to go for a jog last Thursday. And it gets worse than that. More on this obscenity in a moment. Meanwhile, her dad, of course, has known since Thursday, when she didn't come home, that something was terribly wrong.
Okay, she's just at the park with a friend, and she forgot track of time, and her phone's not next to her. And once I got there and started driving around, it just overwhelmed me. I just knew there was something bad happening with my daughter.
And once again, in a news conference just moments ago, San Diego County Sheriff saying they did find a body of a young girl they believe is that of the daughter of those two people, Chelsea King. I'm sorry, but this story is completely outrageous. And I want to hear from you at home. What are we going to do about this, America? It can't keep happening over and over again. Every time a pretty young girl goes jogging, that parents have to worry, is she going to come home? 1-877, JVM says that's 1-877-586-7297. Straight out to my fantastic expert panel. Judge Marilyn Milian, host of the long-running daytime syndicated court show, The People's Court. Judge Milian spent 5 years presiding over cases in Miami County Domestic Violence Court. Dr. Dale Archer, clinical psychiatrist. Mark Harold, veteran law enforcement officer. Dan Gaffney, talk radio host from WGMD 92.7 News Radio. And we begin with Jim Moret, attorney and senior correspondent for Inside Edition. This case it just blows my mind. I cannot continue talking about this, and I know you don't want to either, Jim, as just another news story. No, it's gone way beyond that. This young girl didn't have to die.
I'll tell you what's even worse. You talk about the case in 2000 where the 13-year-old girl was molested. Well, she had a friend who was also 13, and this man, John Gardner, asked them both to skip school one day because he had been grooming them, according to one of the girl's parents, grooming them for weeks to gain their trust. Well, the one girl who went with him, you know what happened to her. The girl who didn't go with him said that she didn't go because she had a test, and if she didn't take that test at school, her mom would have clobbered her. Well, I talked to that girl today. This girl lives just 16 houses away from this man, and I'll tell you what's horrible. When this man got out of prison, he went right back to this same neighborhood, and no one in the neighborhood was even alerted to that fact. No one knew. And last year, there's another teen, Amber Dubois, who's missing from this same neighborhood. Another teenager who they suspect may be linked to this man. This monster was allowed back into the neighborhood, and none of the potential victims were alerted. And it's just down the street from an elementary school.
Listen, this is the big issue facing America today, and you can put up the big issue because this is the big issue. We're going to talk about it all night long.
Right.
Junk justice. Show it to me. Junk justice. That's what we're dealing with in America. Okay? This is complete BS. See all those people right there? They're working hard. Taxpayer dollars are paying for them. But they didn't have to be working on finding a dead body. If the powers that be had done their job properly and our system was functional, we wouldn't be searching for a dead girl. We wouldn't have found a dead girl buried under debris near this lake because she made the horrific mistake of wanting to go for a jog. Because this guy would have been behind bars. Okay, in 2000, he attacked a 13-year-old girl and got on top of her and pummeled her face and molested her. And she says he tried to rape her, and she ran out with one shoe and she threw up at her neighbor's house because she was so terrified. And it gets worse than that. Okay, cops say this man has now been positively identified by another woman as the man who attacked her in the very same park as Chelsea went running in and disappeared in on December 27th. Cops showed that woman Gardner's mugshot, and she said, yep, that's him. Back in December, they took DNA from that woman's elbow because she says she smacked him with her elbow in the nose, and that's how she got away. Okay, cops also think Gardner could be connected to the disappearance, as Jim Murray mentioned, of Amber Dubois. Amber Dubois was 14 years old when she disappeared. There she is. Look at that beautiful girl. On her way to school just over a year ago. Her high school is less than 10 miles away from where Chelsea King went missing while jogging. We are honored to have with us tonight Amber's mom, Carrie McGonigal. Carrie,
Yes.
this is such a horror right now. This poor girl's body, you know, they've got to do the positive ID, but they believe it's her.
Yeah.
And your daughter is missing, went missing about 10 miles away.
Yeah, it was about 7.5 miles.
7.5 miles.
Yeah, I drove it on Friday.
7.5 miles.
Yeah.
Do you think in your gut this monster is connected to your daughter's disappearance?
I don't want to think that it is, but the chances are they're connected.
What's wrong with our criminal justice system? I mean, when your daughter disappeared, I understand that they didn't even declare it to be a missing person right away, didn't issue all the alerts that they could because they said there was no evidence of foul play?
Yeah, there was no evidence of foul play. We didn't have search and rescue come out for 3 weeks. I mean, we were out doing our own searches. We set up our own center and everything, but the sheriffs did not come out and bring out search and rescue, the full team, until 3 weeks later.
There's so many things that have been done improperly here. It blows my mind, Judge Marilyn Milian. For example, if they had taken the DNA swab off that woman's elbow on December 27th and run a test, they would have come up with this face right here. Yeah. How do I know that, Judge? Because that's what they did when they found Chelsea King's underwear. They did a DNA test and they came up with that man. But I guess they didn't bother to do that back on December 27th because, well, she survived, right? She got away. She fought back. So let's not worry about it, even though there's a predator on the loose.